This week on Shift Points, we changed things up and we start a new series of videos that we're going to call the Shift Points Tech Shed. Thank you guys for joining. You guys remember a few weeks ago we had Brian Mace here on the podcast, and we got in. He came in and gave us the whole rundown on his background, credentials, everything that he's done building race motors and things like that. So check that out first and foremost, so you can kind of learn about him before we get into this. But what we wanted to do, me and him got to talking and decided during the podcast we tried to kind of show what the tech process would look like whenever you're going through a limited race or a truck race or whatever, any sort of local short track race that he's teching. So we tried to show kind of the big pieces of what that would look like. Well, we got to talking and decided you couldn't see it super well just because the camera angles and stuff like that, and it might make more sense if we got a little bit more in depth. So we got here today, and what we decided is what we would do is take a component that would be tech during the tech process at a local circle track race that he's teching, and he's going to go through and step you through what it would look like for that component. So this week we've got cylinder heads. This guy's a big hot topic along in the circle track realm, and it has been for years. Cylinder heads, you guys know, if you can work on your cylinder heads, you're going to maximize your flow into the engine, and that's going to make a huge difference in performance of the engine. So of course there's a lot of things that can be done that can make these things a little trick, and so I'm going to get Brian to talk you through that. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to him because he knows a lot more about it than I do.
A brand new out of the box Chris Harrington head, Enforcer, and one that's CNC'd. And a few months back we stirred up quite a few people with some rollers that we've made. Just to quickly hit the background on that again, that quality sample of cylinder heads was almost a year in the making. And again, we took the largest dimension at those locations that we're checking and added 10 thousandths to it. We wanted to make no-go gauges, not go gauges. And I feel like, contrary to belief, we've been fairly successful with it. The intention again behind this, and we've done it with all the engines that we're currently running, as far as for with the cylinder heads, and we're trying. I know the upgrade is a cylinder head we've not got, but it's a CNC'd, and I'm pretty sure with Kevin's help we can probably get the runners if we needed to CC them. But one of the things that I heard a lot of, say a year or so ago, was nobody's tacking, or every time I come here you take my cylinder heads and camshaft out, or you pull the engine out, or you want to take it to the dyno. So in trying to follow Kerry Botenhammer's theory on that, if we could find and make a device that would make tech easier, quicker, and more cost effective for the racer, of course that's what we want to do. So again, we've got these, people's call them pizza cutters, cookie cutters, whatever, and the intention is to do a fair tech without being very abrasive to the pocketbook of the either car owner or driver itself. Now then, that leaves several things really unchecked. At that point, I'm not checking chamber CC. I'm not checking with the Harrington down in the bowl behind the valve. So I do realize that there'll be times when taking the head off or pulling the camshaft out is necessary. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying for your local races, on most of your Saturday nights, Friday nights races, I feel like we've got a pretty efficient way to use these tools as an indicator if something's wrong or right. And I want to show you how radical the difference is and how quickly it's being seen today with a stock head from Harrington, untouched, which is the rules. You take the head out of the box, you don't do anything. These are as cast. He does have rules that you can do your valve job. But again, we're specifically referring to, with the rollers, the ports, the intakes and exhaust ports, compared to a CNC head, which again, as you will see, is radically different. I wanted to show you, I've got 3 of the 5 rollers that we have here We're having some more made. Again, this is not Brian's idea. This is not anything that's new. Again, Kerry Boat and Hammer done this years ago with the bow tie heads, Ford heads and stuff in the UARA series, and NASCAR adopted it for many years. Basically, here's the 3 tools I've got. And again, we've tried to mark them, keep it pretty easy during tech. This is the one, it's an EIS, Forcer cylinder head, intake short turn. Figured it's pretty cool to go ahead and mark them when you're in the tech shed trying to rapidly perform these checks. You don't want to have to be measuring or looking or digging. This is the Enforcer exhaust short turn. And again, we have these not only for the Enforcer, but several of the other engines, all the crates. Of course, the Bowtie and Ford, it was already created before us. And then I've got the Enforcer exhaust port. We've got the intake port also being manufactured. I didn't have one with me today. It's still at the machine shop being produced, but it has been approved and being produced now. So the guy we're having make these, he's doing us a good job. They look good, they're professionally made, and I think it's a fair piece. So before we get into the tech process, one of the things I've been asked quite a bit about is, Brian, these are cast cylinder heads. Yes, they are. This isn't 1960, 70, 80, even 90. Casting in today's world is computer generated, and or if you've ever had to make a mold, molds are held within microns, and there's usually 3 microns to a human hair. So these things are held a lot tighter than you think. I do perceive I see some shift occasionally. I can't measure that it's more than 5 to 6 thousandths. So again, when we designed and done the test and data collection for making these tools, you know, it was again almost a year process, and at that point found the largest diameter that it would take to stop be the no-go gauge, and added 10 to it. So we're really trying to give as much as we can, but obviously try to find stuff that's an obvious problem or an indicator that we need to dig deeper. So I hope that clears up some of the casting questions I continue to get. You can Google it. There's a lot of information out there on the website about today's casting of cylinder heads. So with that being said, we're going to take the first thing that I typically do. Will have the racer pull the exhaust header off, and usually the intake as well. That way I can get in on the intake side and on the exhaust side. But typically, getting in on the exhaust side is where you're going to see it the most. So let's check that on the stock head versus the CNC head real quick. And the intention, again, this is a no gauge, a no-go gauge, so I do not want this roller to go in this port. And as you can see, it does not on a stock Enforcer head. In this example, we're going to look at the CNC cylinder head. And again, this is a no-go gauge, should not go in the port.
Basically just falls in there, right?
Quite a bit of difference, as you can see. At this point, again, this is not a certified NASCAR gauge, but the intention is, again, to use this as an indicator and comparing to what the as cast out of the box cylinder port on the exhaust side should be like. You now see the difference, and that's quite a bit of movement. So with this, I am definitely suspect now, and we want to take the cylinder head off for further evaluation.
Guys, I'm not going to interrupt Brian long here, but I do want to get your input. We would like to continue to make these videos and kind of take the veil off the tech process in short track racing. Me and him have already discussed doing a video on carburetors, possibly camshafts, some of the differences and some of the things that they look for during the tech process for those. But we want to get your input so that we can make sure that we're covering the things that you need to know and the things that you're interested in. So put that down in the comments and let us know anything that you would like to see a similar style video done on. The other thing I want to say here is make sure that if you're enjoying this, hit subscribe. It helps us out a ton. Go down there, do that, and then also head over to Facebook and Instagram. You can search Shift Points. Should be the first thing that comes up whenever you do that. If you'll follow us there too, it helps us continue to make these videos and do this, what we really like, which is making videos to help you guys out. So, back to Brian.
Another thing that we would do once we have the cylinder head off the engine, valves out of it, or we're probably just going to pull one cylinder, the valves out with one cylinder, but I wanted to show the head. We're going to use this one, this wheel right here. We're going to check the short turn. Most of the time, if you're going to try to improve cylinder head flow on a Chevrolet, the short turn is definitely the area you're going to want to work first. Let's take a look at what this gauge shows us on a out of the box cylinder head compared to a CNC cylinder head. This is just another tool to see if the short turn of the cylinder head has been modified or changed in any shape, form, or fashion. As you can see, the wheel does not pass past that valve guide. Now we're going to do the same check on the CNC cylinder head. Another area of concern would be the short turn on the exhaust port side as well. So we've got a gauge that we use to check that. We'll demonstrate that on the out of the box as cast cylinder head first. We're going to roll, as you'll see, it will not pass the guide nor the short turn right there. We'll demonstrate the same test on the CNC cylinder head.
It's another pretty drastic difference there, isn't it?
It's pretty radical difference. The numbers you hear people claiming to see improved are, you know, with cylinder heads 40 to 50 horsepower. I can't deny or confirm that number, but it's a pretty radical difference on the cylinder head for sure.
All right, guys, I think that's going to basically wrap us up. So we went through the tech process for cylinder heads. Me and Brian will have to talk about what the next video might look like. But we're hoping that this is going to educate people. It's going to help people out. It helped me out a lot just learning about this. You guys know me. I'm always out trying to just learn the next thing, like whatever is going on, especially in racing and in automotive industry. That's what I want to do. And that's what this whole thing is going to be about for me, is just learning myself, and I'm hoping that you guys are going to learn too. So thanks to Brian. We appreciate you having us. Thanks for talking us through a good and bad set of cylinder heads. Bad in quotations, right?
Depends on which side of the fence you're on.
That's exactly right. So, like I said, we'll come up with the next one, whatever that might be, and we'll see you next time at the Shift Points Tech Show.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks, Brian.
I joked that we were going to do bloopers like Burt Reynolds and show them at the end. I didn't really mean to.
I might do that.
So another area of concern would be the shame.
A little taller than you, Brian. Sorry. There you go. I'm looking for.
Most of the time, if you're going to try to improve, You're Dom DeLuise, you're getting slapped, not me. This is great.
All right.